evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's Nano Talk about direct democracy and digitalization. I am Sina, and I'm joined by the co-organizer Maximilian.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. My name is Maximilian, and I will co-author this talk together with Sina.
The Nano Talks are short presentations given by young scientists. After the presentations, you have the opportunity to ask questions to the presenters. But before we start with the talk, I'm going to introduce you to REACH and the SIMPAC program. REACH is an independent think tank with the device Research, Think and Change. We want to bring science and society together to find the best solution for current problems in our world. Therefore, we organize events like this one and write evidence-based blog posts about current topics. Maximilian and I are fellows of the SIMPAC program of REACH. SIMPACT is a training program for young people who want to bring science into public debates. In the program, we are encouraged to organize events and to write blog posts. Fortunately, we are always supported by a coach, who is in our case, Angela Odermatt. In the program, we can also attend different workshops and to social events and connect with each other. If you are interested in REACH or in the SIMPAC program, visit us on our website or on our social media platforms. We would be very delighted if you would join our network. As I mentioned before, you have the opportunity to ask questions to our guests after the presentation. Therefore, you can go to the website Slido and enter with the code nano-feb. You can also find the link in the info box. Unfortunately, our first speaker, Irina Lehner, is unable to attend the Nano Talk. But we are currently clarifying whether we can upload Irina Lehner's recorded presentation to our YouTube channel. So you can subscribe to our REACH account to stay up to date. But now we are very happy to welcome Gianola at this event. Maximilian will introduce you to her.
Yes, I warmly welcome our speaker of today, Gianola. She holds a master's degree in political science and international and European law from the University of Bern and the University of Kent. And since May 2020, she's now pursuing her PhD at Année Politique Suisse as part of the SNSF project Digital Democratic Innovations to Empower Citizens in the Digital Age. And now I hand over to you, Giada, to present some of your findings from your research project. And we are really looking forward to your insights.
So thank you so much. Good evening, everyone, and thank you again, REACH, for the kind invitation. And I'm really happy to present you this evening our research project about a Swiss digital democratic innovation. I'm going to share my screen with the slides. So I hope you see my screen. Perfect. So here the brief outline of the presentation I'm going to give you this evening. I will give a brief introduction about our topic, and then I will show you some important features of our digital democratic innovation we self-developed and we called Demokratiefabrik, so actually in English, Democracy Factory. And then I will give some information about the case studies we ran last year. And then I will present you the results of the most important part or interesting part, I think, for you. And then some conclusion. And then lastly, to wrap up the main take-home message. So first of all, I would like to put our project in a bigger picture. As Maximilian said, our project is part of the SNSF research program on digital transformation, NRP 77, together with other projects in different fields, in politics, in health and education. And this project runs from 2020 to 2023. And why are we doing that? And that's it's an important question. Actually, we do think that digitalization as an opportunity for more democratic participation, and we are exploring the potential and the consequences for increase the consequences that digitalization has on the involvement of the population in political processes. So there aren't so many studies on digital democracy or digital political involvement of a citizen. And also in Switzerland, I think we are the first one to run a study like that. In concrete, in our project, we developed a new tool for citizen involvement and empowerment. And on this tool, the citizen could create a questionnaire for the Swiss voting advice application called smartvote. So the citizen developed themselves the questionnaire, and this questionnaire was at the end published online, and it was available to every citizen. I don't know if you are familiar with smartvote, if you know how it is and how it works. So I will briefly give you some information about that. So smartvote is service provided by an association with a team of researchers, mostly political scientists, and usually they develop the questionnaire. But in our case, as I said, they were the citizens that developed this. And prior to election at the local, cantonal, but also at the national level, candidates running for election fill out a questionnaire. And then users who are interested could also fill out the same questionnaire. And at the end, the user receives a voting advice with candidates and lists that match their profile. So at the end, you have a list of possible candidates you can vote that are matching, the profile are matching. So here are some important features of our DDI, Digital Democratic Innovation Demokratiefabrik, that are really important to understand our project and our study. First of all, the platform, the online tool was asynchronous, meaning that participants could log in on the platform at any time, meaning at during the weekends or in the evening. So it's quite different from for example, a Zoom talk where you have to show up at a given time. In our platform, the citizen really could join whenever they wanted. Secondly, participants could act autonomously, meaning that the research team, myself, with the other member of the research team, we didn't intervene on the platform. So we really didn't intervene. We didn't change discussion. We didn't actually intervene in the discussion and in the task that the citizen had to solve. Thirdly, participants were accompanied by two artificial facilitators. You see here the picture of the facilitators, Sophie and Felix. These were developed by our computer scientist who is working with us in the project. He's also a political scientist. And these facilitators were on the platform just to give instruction to the participants, to give them information about the task to resolve, what was the program of the day, and so on. But they also didn't intervene in the discussion and so on. But they were really there to give some kind of instruction to the citizen. Then we used the mechanism of random allocation at different stages of the studies. This was used to enable the participation of all users, just to avoid that some group of user was monopolizing the task and the discussion online. So everyone has the same chance to participate on on our platform. And then lastly, participants acted anonymously. We gave them pseudonyms in form of Swiss mantling. So I'm giving an example. When the users first log in on the platform, they receive randomly a name of a Swiss mountain. And this name of the Swiss mountain was their name on the platform. And that was really appreciated by the participants. So here some information about our case study. We ran the case study in the municipality of Köniz in the canton of Bern, which is located in the Swiss-German part of Switzerland. And the municipality has a population of 43,000 inhabitants, and it has also, this municipality has also rural and urban districts, which is really interesting for us for political science, because we know that depending on where you live, you vote different parties and so on. So it was really interesting to have both contexts in this municipality. So what we did exactly, we opened the Demokratiefabrik, our platform, 3 months before the local election held in September 2021. So our case studies started mid of June, and it lasts until the beginning of July. And the local parties had in advance the chance to submit questions for the voting advice questionnaire. And this is actually the normal procedure. So when smartvote is developing the questionnaire, they also invite local parties to submit questions. So we didn't change this step because we thought it's really important also to have local parties being involved in our study. And the local parties actually submitted 108 questions. And then we, together with the smartvote team, we selected 40, and we put these 40 questions on the DDI as a starting point. So when the citizens were logging in for the first time, the Demokratiefabrik wasn't empty, but there were already some questions proposed by the local parties. And yeah, I want to stress again that this actually is the normal procedure used by smartvote. And then we selected randomly 9,000 citizens, and we invited them by invitation letter to take part in our study. So in the invitation letter, they receive information about the study, but also the login credential, to take part in the DDI. There was a financial incentive, a prize draw to win a travel voucher in the value of 400 Swiss francs each. And then before starting actually with the questionnaire, with question and so on, they had to register, they had to resolve or to resolve some preparation steps. They had to register on the DDI with the email or phone number. Then the citizen or the user had to read some information materials such as code of conduct and some information background about smartvote, and also complete a first online survey. And then when they had done these steps, they could actually start with the task. And maybe are you wondering which task had the citizen on our digital democratic innovation? So first of all, they should indicate the perceived salience of themes and questions. Also, just to add something, the smartvote questionnaire is always structured the same with some themes. For example, economy or taxation and so on. So we in our study we use these themes. We didn't change them, and then the citizen actually should give the perceived silence of these themes and also of the questions. The citizen has also had the chance to propose new questions for the questionnaire, or propose a refinement of an already existing question, meaning that if a question was already there, but the citizen just thought, okay, this is not quite well formulated. I can make a refinement of this question. Then they had the opportunity to write comments. This was really important for us because this gave them the opportunity to discuss together about different questions or topics. And it's also important for this deliberative research, who is actually researching on how people deliberate. And occasionally, participants were also asked to review, assign a proposal of other participants. It's actually what we call the review process. So citizens were randomly selected to review a proposal of other participants, and then only proposals that were approved by a majority of 10 randomly assigned participants remained on the platform. I think it's really quite difficult to explain in words how it works. It may sound really difficult, but we made a walkthrough video, and I can give you the link at the end of the presentation. So if you're really interested to understand how the Demokratiefabrik work, I really recommend you to watch this video. It's also available in English, and then you can see the different steps, because I have the feeling that it's quite difficult to explain in words, but it was not so complicated actually. So here the results. First of all, I will give you some information about participation, how the citizens participate. So here we see, for example, that 16% of invitees, as of these 9,000 people we invite to participate, log in at least once in our DDI. 13% of them completed the initial survey. So we see already here some dropouts. So people who logged in, but then they left. And then we have 12% of invitees that rated at least one theme or a question. And when we speak of participants, we refer to this group, we refer to people who actually were active on the platform and they rated at least a theme or a questions. We also see here that 54% of participants reviewed at least one randomly assigned question. And then 19% of them wrote at least one comment, which is a quite high percent, because there were a lot of discussion among the citizens about different topics. And 10% of them submitted at least one proposal for a new question, or an amendment of an existing question. So next was interested in participating. So we looked at different characteristics. So these famous social economic variables, and also political attitudes. And we saw that actually some groups, some social groups were underrepresented and some other were overrepresented. So, for example, participants aged 75 or above and women aged 66 plus were underrepresented, as well as participants who place themselves on the right political spectrum. Instead, we saw that actually participants with higher education or with high or very high interest in politics, or with high satisfaction in how democracy works, and also with high political trust, were overrepresented on the platform. And we also see that participants affiliated with the Socialist and Socialist Party and the Green, above all the Green Liberal Party, GLP, were overrepresented. Analyzing the data, we also depicted some differences among users. So actually, we saw there are some difference between users who actively contributed and wrote something on the platform in form of comments, suggestion for a new question or justification. There was difference between this group of user and the user who only rated the topics and question of other participants. Actually, they were only clicking, but they were not typing any content. So, for example, we saw that user who were actively contributing, they feel more politically competent, which make quite of sense, because maybe you are more prone to write something on a platform if you feel that you are political competent. These users show less local political trust, which is really interesting, because we saw before that more people with high political trust was participating, but this kind of group didn't monopolize the discussion and the procedure on the platform. And we saw the active user are less likely to be fully employed, so they have probably more time to spend on the platform and are more involved in association. At the end of the DDI, so in beginning of July, we ran a second survey where participants could evaluate their experience on the Demokratiefabrik. And they very much appreciated the DDI, although we got some comments that the task assigned to them, the task that I showed you before, were perceived as relatively demanding. So we got really a few feedback that say, oh, it was really cool, it was really great, but maybe the task were a little bit difficult or demanding, so time consuming. Here we see, for example, that a clear majority found the instruction on the DD clear, so the process was clear to them what they had to do. They stated also that they will participate again in the future. They considered the review process as fair and meaningful, and also a quite large portion of participants stated that they spoke at least once about the DDI with other person not involved in the study. So summing up the key findings of the study, we saw, first of all, a high interest in the DDI. We saw, secondly, an active engagement on the DDI of most participants. So participants were there on our platform, and they did actively participated. Though overrepresentation of some social groups, this did not monopolize the Demokratiefabrik. And we also saw that the smartvote questionnaire was a little bit different from the usual ones. And this was actually our expectation. So we were expecting actually that the smartvote the questionnaire created by the citizen was different, and was really the case. So we were really happy about this because we saw that this questionnaire created by the citizen had more questions that affect people's everyday lives. So this is quite, I think, really interesting to analyze. Because citizens were actually proposing questions related to their life at the expense of issues that are already heavily politicized. Lastly, maybe some words on what first implication has our study. Is the first one, and that we ran last year. We are planning a second study in the next month, in August, September 2022. But after this one, we can maybe just conclude or just state some implication. I've tried here to formulate a take-home message in one sentence, and we think that carefully designed digital tools for political participation can work and may also empower citizens. I would like to stress the words carefully designed. I think it's really important. I show you before some feature, and I think that this feature actually helped us to have good data and to have a good questionnaire at the end that was published and used also by the citizen. I think that's a key point. Yeah, if you would like more information about our project, I have linked here to website, and also our website, demokratiefabrik.ch. And on this website, you will find the preliminary report and the walkthrough I was speaking about before. The walkthrough is also available in German. Unfortunately, the report is, as the walkthrough is available in English and in German, and the preliminary report is unfortunately only in German. And you can also scan the QR code, and you can also register for our newsletter if you would like to receive more information in the future about what we are doing. So thank you so much for listening to me, and I'm looking forward to the question, and I hope it was interesting for you. And thank you so much again.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Giada, for this very insightful presentation and to let us see how digitalization is affecting democratic processes. And let's directly jump into our discussion round. And to start with our Q&A, I would like to start with a more general question which has come up, which is, who had the initial idea for the project?
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. Actually, it was a team effort. It was a team of researchers from the University of Bern, but also a professor at the University in Stuttgart, in Germany, and together also with smartvote, because we worked together with them for this study. So there was a collective idea. I wasn't there at the time because I started my PhD in 2020, and the project was submitted to SNSF in 2019, I guess. And also my supervisor, Dr. Gerber and Dr. Wies, they have experience on the deliberation and democratic innovation like mini publics and citizen assembly, but also with the online deliberation. So how this works in digital world. So there were, I think, they sit down all together and they put this on paper, and they developed this cool project actually.
Great, very interesting. Another question was also how closely did you work with the municipal government? So do you have, yes.
Yeah, this is an interesting question. We work really close with them. So we firstly work with smartvote to find a good case study for us. We just discussed if we are going to look at election at the cantonal level or the local level. And then when we decide, okay, Köniz is a good fit for us, it would be really great to work with them. We contact the municipality, and we first of all introduce the project, what was the idea, what we are going to do, and they were really, really excited, and they jumped in. They say, yeah, really, really great, we are doing that, and yeah, I think it's really important in this kind of project just to work together and to give also information to the municipality. Yes.
Yeah, thanks. When it comes to working together, the platform is is a very important part. So the question comes up: what did the platform look like? Was it designed for computers or phones? What implications might this have?
Yeah, thank you so much for the question. As I said, we have a computer scientist in our team, who is also a political scientist, and he has experience on DDIs and digital platforms because he has done some research also connected to that. And we try to develop the platform as easy as possible, just not to overwhelm the citizen, and also to reach maybe elderly people who may have maybe some difficulties with this kind of digital tools. So actually we tried to construct it as easy as possible with clear task and clear design, and also with the help of the artificial facilitators that were there to give instruction, and they popped up sometimes to explain what the citizen had to do. And also we had a hotline every day, also during weekends, by phone and by email. So the citizen or the participant could reach to us by phone or by email and ask us any questions if they had technical problems or any kind of problems actually. And I have to say that we didn't actually receive many emails or many calls, and everything worked apparently fine. So we didn't have many technical issue and so on. So this is I think really important also for the elderly population. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. So there were several questions about the results which you conducted, and the first one is if it is a good value that 16% of the interviewees logged at least once. So compared to other case studies, for example.
It is actually a high value. Maybe you can think, okay, 16% is not so high, but for this kind of setting and this kind of study where you are not paying to do that, so you actually voluntarily participate, it's a high value also in comparison with the other few studies that were run in this kind of setting. There is a study by Strandberg and Grönlund, which is published in 2013, so quite 8 years ago. 9, and there only 2% of the Finnish population. It was a case study in Finland. Only 2% of the IMBTs participated. So we have 2% and 16%. Unfortunately, we don't have so many studies actually. So it's also quite difficult to make comparison. But also considering that it was quite time and resource demanding, so the people had really to give the science of the question, to develop the question, so it was quite time demanding. I think we are really happy of the 16% that they log in at least once. So maybe they logged in once and then they never come again, but there were people that were logging in also regularly. So
So sorry, I have a question to your answer. So how do you explain this high participation? Has it something to do with Switzerland and the direct democracy compared to Finland, or how do you explain this?
Yes, I think that it was also new that citizens could create a questionnaire for a service, and we really also explain that the questionnaire will be published, and it was the case. So the questionnaire was really published at the end. It was available to everyone. So I think also the citizen thought, I'm doing something that it's going to be really used in real life. So they maybe saw the plus of our project, not just doing something that disappear after some times, but it was really a real life implemented. And yes, I think they were maybe at the beginning curious because you go to them with you present them a project about digitalization and so on. So maybe some citizens just were curious to see, and then they get involved and say, oh, it's really nice, and they want to really contribute. So I think it's also topic dependent about which topic are you discussing. Also in our study, they were doing something, as I said, that was real life implemented. If you want people that discuss about a specific topic, I think you have also to choose a topic which could more or less mobilize people, not a topic which one think, okay, no, I do anything about that and I'm not able to say anything. So I think, it could be many factors that was at the play here.
Well, cool. Linking to the previous questions regarding participations, another participant asked, were only people who have the right to vote in Switzerland selected, or could also people who don't have the right to vote participate in this experiment?
Yeah, thank you for the question. In our first study here, only citizens entitled to vote, so meaning Swiss aged at least 18, could participate. Actually, I do see the potential of these tools also to permit the participation also of foreigners or younger citizens. Actually, our consideration was that smartvote is a service primarily for people who can elect in Switzerland. So in the municipality of Köniz, this is for a Swiss citizen. So this was the idea behind that. But of course, we can actually think about to expand the participation also to foreigners and to younger people, because in an online setting, it's maybe easier than face-to-face. So yes, but in this case, it was only for Swiss citizens.
Okay. Yes. And participant also asked if you have any hypothesis why participants on the right spectrum were underrepresented. So
this is a quite interesting question, which is actually accompanying me every day because actually we don't know an answer, so we don't have an answer, but we actually can speculate. Maybe it's really difficult. I think it's possible that these people are happy with how the democracy works in Switzerland. So they are happy with election and federal votes or popular votes and popular initiative and so on. So they don't see the plus of doing such a smartvote questionnaire. This is our first hypothesis, and yeah, it's really difficult. Actually, it's also intriguing for us to understand why they were underrepresented. I'm thinking about, also the case study was also run after the loss of after the vote on the CO2 law that was rejected actually, and we started exactly the study the Monday after the federal vote. So maybe we could mobilize more people from the right-green spectrum than the right one. But yes, we are, if anyone has more hypotheses, please reach out to us, because we are really interested to find out why, but which is a little bit difficult because we have only data about the participants, so we don't have data about the non-participants. So it's quite difficult to find out why they didn't participate. Yeah.
Yeah, and when talking about this different political views, is there a risk that this facilitator you mentioned in the beginning is biased, or that this facilitator biased the actions of the participants?
No, actually, the facilitators, they didn't intervene. They were just there for everyone in the same manner, actually. So they are not like bots who actually how do you say that have an interaction so with the user. So they popped up and they gave the instructions, like, for example, here you find the next topic, do you want to rate the question, then follow, or please go for the, and so on. So they were there more to give some instruction. So I don't think, I think that they weren't biased towards some citizen. Maybe some citizen reacted more to this instruction. So they say, okay, I'm doing that because I saw the pop and I'm doing that. And maybe some others didn't. This is also interesting, and there aren't so many studies actually about which effect have features on the participation. So we are also looking with my colleagues about the effect of this review process and this random allocation. the participation, but actually it would be also interesting to say how facilitators have an effect. So there are also literature is really poor on this topic, but I exclude that they biased the process because they weren't there to interact with the users, but they were there just to give some instruction. Maybe you are more attentive and you follow the instruction, or maybe you say no, I don't want to, and then I stop and I leave the platform. So
you also mentioned that the facilitators helped especially elderly people, but do you think is there a risk to lose elderly people when engaging with digital platforms, especially in direct democracy or democratic tools?
Yes. Also, facilitators were there for everyone, but especially maybe to help elderly people who are not maybe so familiar with digital tools. But of course, it's an important remark. We saw in our study that actually men aged 75 plus were underrepresented, which is quite good. Of course, they were 90 or 80, but I think 75 is quite good. And we also saw the women aged above 66 were underrepresented. Underrepresented doesn't mean that there were anyone there, but they were minor number that younger people. But of course, it's an important remark, and I stress again, I think that design plays an important role just to have also these people. But I think it's also utopian to think that the 99, also people aged 99 would participate, maybe one or two, but of course not everyone. So I think we have this issue in digital life or in digital tools, but it's actually an issue we can discuss also about federal votes, because also there not everyone is showing up and put the vote on the ballot. So I think it's just important to speak about, and yes, there is a risk to lose these people.
Yeah, and I see one last question, also maybe looking a little bit into the future. And the question is, could such a system also be used for decision-making processes?
Yes, I think yes, it has to be carefully designed. I can give you some, also what we are doing next, in the next studies. People or citizens are going on our platform and then discuss a federal vote, and then formulate some pro and cons arguments for this federal vote, and then have a kind of statement with pro and cons, and this statement will be probably available. We don't know already yet in which form. Which is not already decision making, but it's like discussion about an upcoming vote, and also to see if the arguments are different from the arguments delivered by the Federal Council in this red booklet that everyone receives at home. But yes, I think it's just in face-to-face mini publics, for example, the mini publics who are also randomly selected citizens, they discuss a topic and they make some recommendation, and then this recommendation has to be followed up by the government. So decision making, I think it could be possible, just to pay attention to topic like accountability. Are these people accountable for what they do? Are they representative of the population? Because it's also quite difficult to say, 20 people decide for the rest of the population. So I think it could be possible. I think maybe we have to do some preliminary steps to get there. So because it's really a new word, and speaking of e-voting and so on, I think we could do something like that. Yes,
absolutely. So yeah, there are no questions left, if I see it correctly. Then to conclude this nano talk, I would like to thank you, Giada, for this interesting presentation and real life application. We have seen that digitalization is finding its way into politics and democratic processes and offers huge potentials also for the future. And I want to also thank you, the audience, for joining and asking questions. Lastly, we hope that we will provide you with the other talk of Irina at a later stage about the risks and opportunities of e-collecting. And also thanks to my colleague Sina. And I hope to see you soon. Stay safe and have a nice evening.
Thank you so much, and see you soon, and have a nice evening too. Thank you.
Goodbye.